Hello everyone, welcome to Fridays at 4 on twitch.tv/DDOstream. I'm your community manager, Kurt Oven, and we have a special show for you today because this week we released our latest producer letter. You can find that on DDO.com. And with me, I have said author of the letter. That would be Standing Stone Games senior producer, Tolero. How you doing, Tolero?
Doing good. How about you?
So this week you released the producer letter. It took us, it wasn't too bad a letter to put together this year. We've done it, we're getting ready for our 20th anniversary, much of which we'll be talking about here in just a little bit. But before we really get to that, I guess we could just kind of talk in general that we've done quite a few letters together over the years, and this one I think went pretty easy because we have a pretty good solid plan for the year.
Yeah, there was so much to talk about. Poor Cordovan had to start editing for length. I couldn't fit everything, and then there's some things people are like, what about this and what about that? I'm like, I also want to tell you about this thing too. One moment, please.
So as most of the people watching this know, we're getting people kind of up to speed as to what we did last year. That is release Chill of Ravenloft and focus heavily on upgrading infrastructure and improving game performance, all the 64-bit server stuff. One of the big questions we'll get to here in just a little bit. But before we do that, this is an opportunity for us to kind of talk a little bit about what we did for game performance and actually show it in a visual way to the community. So can you tell me a little bit what are we looking at and what is this?
Sure. So one of the challenges when you have lag or performance things is figuring out where is the problem. And so with a lot of engineering work and investigation work, we were able to come up with some visualization tools. And so the top image that you see with all the red there, it's showing you how much lag, how intense is it, how often was it, and where was it. Now, where's kind of the way this visualization works is it's sort of collating a lot of different aspects of the game, so it's not like, oh, this one quest. It's lots of different parts of the game. But the reason that I chose those two particular images is it's very clear where it's like, before, everywhere, after, significantly gone. Basically, in this image, green is good, and any place that's not green is where you start to see some problems, and anything red is absolutely a problem. As you can see before, we were experiencing it a lot in many places, many pieces of the game, many components, and then after you can see a significant reduction. Now you can see there's like a band of some areas are still having problems, and we're obviously still working on those. But it also made it easier for us to see what those were now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be able to strip away I think one of the previous letters that we talked about performance, we sort of talked about it as this layer cake, and we're sort of chipping away at each layer. So what you're seeing before is all of the layers, and then the green one is more where we are now.
It wasn't one specific thing, and I don't want to spend all day talking about the lag that we've been talking about quite a bit over the past year, but it was really the series of steps we did for the server infrastructure, the server environment, the game code, a lot of engineering, a lot of pieces went into getting from image A to image B.
Yeah. One of the tricky parts too, when I talk about the layer cake, that's almost not correct. It's almost more like a game of like a Jenga tower, or no, that's not even the right research. When you would fix one problem, what could happen is it would remove a problem that was technically stopping a different problem from being able to happen, and then that problem would come rushing forward. And so it was a lot of this sort of whack-a-mole type exercise of, well, this can't happen anymore, but because of that, now this other bad thing can start happening, and so we got to get that too. So it was a lot of firefighting the way down the list, essentially.
Thankfully, now that it's February something now, February 6th, so we have more than entered 2026 at this point. We are 1/12 of the way through it, roughly. But we entered 2026 with a lot of this work behind us. Some work still to do, as you see. Can you talk at all? Do you know really kind of what the next step is for us in terms of looking at game performance?
So at this point, what we've come to is we've reached the the limit of what our tool can currently tell us because we fixed so much. And now to get these last things, now we have to kind of retune our approach. Like imagine that before we were able to see everything we needed under this type of telescope. And, now we need to move from this type of telescope to a different measuring tool. Like if you're trying to see a black hole, yeah, you can try to point the Hubble at it, but maybe you need to be able to view it in X-ray, for example, to actually see the root cause of the problem. So that's where we are right now, is tuning some settings to be able to really pin down, okay, these here that are still escaping us, what are these made of?
Let's talk about the year ahead. Next up is the anniversary. It's been a huge week in regard to the anniversary, but this letter opened the door to all of that. What do we got going on?
So much. This is the 20th, right? And we wanted to make sure that it was big, that there was lots going on, and so that we've just kind of done a whole bunch of stuff all at once, and our hope is that this will be a really fun-filled event for everybody as a result of that. Large amounts of it happen during our typical sort of February celebration period, but we are having one aspect of it last all year long. It's because we just wanted to make sure people were able to have a lot of fun throughout the whole year of our 20th anniversary. So, gosh, where to start? We obviously have some things that people haven't seen yet. For example, we have an updated 20th anniversary version of our commemorative cloak. So, slightly new design. That'll be really cool. And then we have a new dungeon coming out. I know everyone is familiar with the dungeon that we debuted with our 10th anniversary. And then obviously we kept making little tweaks to it, for fun, like add Easter eggs and change some things up every year since that point. But now that we've reached 20, we felt, you know what? It's time to introduce a new dungeon to the party. The old dungeon will still be available, so you can still play that dungeon as part of the anniversary time, but now there's going to be a new dungeon, and folks will get to check that out in the next Lamania preview. So that dungeon is going to be focused on the story of DDO, whereas the previous dungeon was a little bit more tongue-in-cheek, a little more fourth wall, and this one is more about celebrating the stories of 20 years of DDO.
I am seeing earlier chat, I think, about my vocal volume. Please do let someone pop into chat whether or not I've got it corrected or not. Otherwise, I'll take another minute to correct this here. You mentioned the old anniversary dungeon, the one that debuted for the 10th anniversary, if I recall, is not going away?
Correct. It's still going to be there. It'll be active during the 20th anniversary celebration. The only thing we did was we took a couple of spots and made them a little bit more evergreen. Like one of the fight encounters, we used to always change that fight every single year.
My encounter,
yep.
Yeah.
Your encounter.
It's one of the coolest things ever, that you get to be memorialized like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we've tuned your fight to be a little more evergreen, although I like to say that it's literally evergreen because it involves plants and vegetables. So yours is more evergreen now, and we also took the D&D game. We moved that outside the dungeon into the party zone. Every year we have a little sort of faux D&D table with some NPCs gathered around it, pretending like what would it be like if the characters played D&D. And so we plan to keep doing that because we have a lot of fun with it, and we've moved that into the other feature of this anniversary, which is we've created a brand new zone for the anniversary so that it's your one-stop shop for all things anniversary party, any activities, any free stuff, any content. It's all together in one new place now, and you'll have multiple ways to get there. Fred will be in the world in multiple locations to help take you there.
I saw, at least on Lamani, I believe this is the plan for live, in-house Jarasco, where Fred normally is, and then also in House Fjarlin, where the 10th anniversary event is.
Correct, and then also Hall of Heroes, down where,
okay.
Yep, down by the ramp.
And the image you're seeing in chat here is of the new public area. The public area is wider than this image here, and there's actually some kind of little bridges that things to do and bits to experience. And then ultimately that's where a new dungeon, the new anniversary dungeon, is going to be located as well. So this public area will be around when the anniversary event is active, is the plan?
Yes.
What can we say about the new dungeon? What do we want to say about it?
So the new dungeon, it's designed to cover all level ranges, but it is going to be a little different than the way that the 10-year anniversary dungeon worked. The 10-year anniversary dungeon used the challenge system. This one uses more of our traditional dungeon tech, and the reason we did that is because it allows you to play it on Reaper mode. And so it'll be a Reaper mode setting covering almost every single level band in the game. So you'll be able to play it on normal difficulty, on epic, or on elite. You can play heroic. You can play, epic and legendary. It covers everybody, and that way people can play with the Reapers as well, which we thought would be cool. And so then the other difference is normally when you play the 10-year dungeon, you sort of get your party favors at the end after you get like your star objectives.
Mm-hmm.
This one, instead of getting star objectives, you go to when you finish the end of the dungeon, you'll get a chest to get your components. The loot for it, which has been available on Lamania this week, will feature some, we'll call it flashbacks to popular loot throughout the game's history that people may remember. So some tuned up versions of that for nostalgia's sake. And then the other thing we can say about the story is that players will be dealing with time. They'll be at the chronoscope, but it's a new plot line relating to the chronoscope. They will be traveling in time, and that means that when you're playing the dungeon, you have a chance of getting a different encounter when you go in. So you might not always get the same encounters each time, but you'll be fighting memorable, important bosses or characters from DDO's history.
Is the new zone set up like a challenge, so level 1 to whatever it ends up being?
So the level spread covers from level 1 all the way up to the level cap, but instead of having the drop-down list, you'll pick the level range, and then you'll see sort of the usual quest interface where you either click the heroic tab in the difficulties or the epic or legendary tab with the difficulties. So that's the part that's a little different.
And that's because it's not using that sort of challenge tech system, is that why?
Correct. It doesn't use the challenge tech system. It also means there's not the star objectives at the top. Instead, it behaves more like a traditional dungeon.
The loot is its own loot table. It's not shared, say, with the 10th anniversary stuff. It's
correct.
All new, and that's where presumably over time we would be adding new anniversary items over the years, at least for the plan, right? So
yeah, exactly.
There's some other things that people are going to be getting for free in the anniversary, and one of those things did get previewed as well this week on Lamania, which is a 20th anniversary token and a reward system. That's sort of the reward box part 2 that we talked about a little bit ago. That's going to be distributed to every character, is that right?
It's going to work real similar to how the 10th anniversary, which was during the announced window, you log in and claim it with the characters, and you got to be in by that window to get it.
Okay.
But yes, all your characters, you log in.
I think you have it in the letter here, but there's also going to be the genie buff, which I believe is something like a 10% discovery boost that you can just sort of speak to the
discovery
genie and
boost
pick up.
Buff is back. Yep. Discovery boost is back.
And we have some other little freebies in that people who do the anniversary or are familiar with our anniversary kind of endeavors may be expecting. You'll be seeing more about that soon, but we're not really ready to talk about the free gift. It's pretty sweet, though. It's a cool thing.
Correct.
So.
And then don't forget the Arcane Trickster.
Yeah, right. So that's the next
similar
part.
to Similar to what happened with Year of the Dragon, this time we're doing the Arcane Trickster archetype, and for that first month of anniversary, everybody who wants to get it for free permanently, you'll log in and come and speak with the NPC to claim it, just like you did. It'll be a different NPC. It won't be the dragon. He has gone on to other important dragon things now that Year of the Dragon is over. But there'll be an NPC that you can speak with to permanently claim Arcane Trickster for free for a limited time. And then after that, it goes available in the store or free for VIPs.
Yep. And I actually was able to sit down with Torque, who was one of the people who worked on Arcane Trickster, for a video interview that isn't out yet, but we're going to have that in the next couple of weeks, something next couple of weeks-ish, where we can go more in depth into the Arcane Trickster and talk a little bit about it. But it's a rogue archetype, and per our usual archetype process, they don't have the assassin tree. Instead, they've got the arcane trickster tree, and that arcane trickster tree allows them to essentially have a selection of spells, stolen spells of sorts from the various classes that they can use in addition to all their rogue benefits and things like that. They don't get a few rogue benefits that other traditional rogues get because of the balance of being able to cast the spells, but they do have trap finding, for example. They do use sneak attack dice very effectively, I might add, in the tree as well. So people have been having a chance to see that on the Mania, or will be seeing
Yes.
that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they should be able to see it on the Mania. They've been able to try it this week. So yeah, I'm really excited about the mage hand personally. Like that was one of those things where you're like, ooh, how are we going to represent that in the game? Are we just going to kind of give it a nod within a bit? But nope, we were actually able to get an actual hand. This actual hand you will see like working tools and then coming out and going after monsters and things. So we were able to get an actual mage hand, and it looks like a mage hand to me. It's got a really great appearance.
Yep. So let's move on outside of the well, actually, I guess we could just say the anniversary time frame is going to be roughly around the 25th of this month, give or take a little bit per usual, but our formal anniversary is usually the 28th, and so it'll be pretty close to that time. Do we have any sense of how long the anniversary event's going to go this year?
So the main event with most of the things that we've just described will be happening for about a month, but there's one piece of it that'll keep running all year long. One of the things that is happening during this celebration is Fred has invited an NPC to come help us clean up the mysterious remnants that have been floating around in the universe. And so people will be able to trade in mysterious remnants to this new NPC in exchange for fabulous rewards. This NPC will let you do it up to a certain amount of tries with an increasing cost, but at the beginning of every month, the cost will reset. And so this NPC will be available all the way until the next anniversary.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so we're actually going into technically early 2027 with it?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. It'll last until the next anniversary.
And you start with basically turning in, at least on Lamania here, 100 remnants, and then it goes up and up and up until, the goal is not to have an unlimited number of rewards. It gets pretty high, and you can do up to 10 turn-ins on your account per month. So, and you get some good things like cards of curse cleansing, suites of cards from the deck of the curse decks. Sorry, I don't have the name is skipping my brain right now. There's a Myth Draenor loot
tomes,
picker boxes.
Myth Draenor loots.
Yeah. Bunch of good things. And you can see that list over on Lamania. We're going to have an article for that along with the new anniversary event and other things on DDO.com in the next couple of weeks. All right, let's move over, though, to beyond the anniversary then and talk a little bit about the new Spring Quest Pack. We're introducing one of the most famous items in all of D&D.
Yes.
It's at least about that. Now, you're not going to be wielding it, and everyone's
correct. At least not at this phase.
Yeah.
But true to many other famous D&D things that have appeared in DDO, you're introduced to the concept that this thing exists in the universe. And so with the storyline, we're going to have the dragons have become very concerned about this item, and so our adventurers are going to be helping to manage the deck of many things.
Yep. We're not really ready to say too much more other than it's going to be a traditional quest pack, so free to VIP, available in the store, and that'll be later this spring. Along with the VIP loyalty rewards. For those who have been playing the home game, this is our third season of the VIP loyalty reward program. Could you talk a little bit about what maybe players can expect for this third season in terms of structural changes or kind of anything, I guess, about it?
So this time, many of the benefits that are numeric, the number will increase. and will stack with previous years. So for VIPs who have been, faithfully with us for year number 3, they're obviously going to have the biggest benefit. And then additionally, this will be a new set of cosmetics for the mount and for the cosmetic outfit. One of the things we wanted to do this year is we got some feedback for year 2 that it felt like the outfit and the mount was like, I mean, yes, it's technically different, but it's not different enough. So I'm hoping that this year's set will be a lot more different, and it'll be something that other people haven't had. So when you see somebody with these cosmetics, very clearly you're going to know that they are the VIPs.
Nice.
So I'm very excited. Now I don't know, I always I'm like, oh gosh, do people want spoilers on the stream? Like how spoilery do I want to get?
I saw someone on the forums already figured it out. We haven't confirmed it or anything, but it's one of the things that I've seen was correct. So yeah. So let's move on to the expansion. That's something that people are often very interested in hearing about. We're taking another look at a book.
Yes. So we are going to be visiting the latter half of Out of the Abyss. And so if you're not familiar with sort of the high-level story of Out of the Abyss, you're looking at the D&D demon lords who have attempted to escape the Abyss, and they have ended up in the Underdark. And so our players are going to try to help deal with that, because you definitely don't want demon lords running around in your universe. They do terrible things. We've dealt with demon lords here and there in the DDO universe, and so if they're all trying to escape, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
And so this means we will also get to go to the Underdark. So we're very excited about that. We'll be able to introduce a new race related to the Underdark, which I'm also terribly excited for, which is the Draugr.
Okay. So I guess I've always called him Durgar.
Everybody says something different. It's like Sahuagin, right? Everyone's like, you say Sahagin, I say Sahuagin.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard Draugr, I've heard Draugr, I've heard Draugr.
Yes. Also,
it's like all the different ways we pronounce Mithranor,
Yeah, right. I think it's Mithranor, isn't it?
Technically Mithranor.
Is it?
Yeah.
So it's like Boston. It's Mithranor. So, yeah. All right, level cap of 36 for Out of the Abyss, and that'll be our first level cap in a couple of expansions here. So. And then also the Demogorgon. We're going to be fighting
it. Is a major monster. We obviously are going to be doing the version of the Demogorgon from the book, the D&D books, more directly. I know a lot of people may have seen that monster in other media out there, but they at least have the concept of it's really bad.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't really look like it did in that one show.
Correct. Ours is like true to the book form.
Yeah. We have a roadmap up here like we usually do for the graphics. I don't know that there's a lot that we haven't talked about, other than we do have a PAX East player meetup planned. We'll have more information about that probably roughly in a matter of weeks. I know we've got someone working to finalize the lease, and I guess I would say right now, the way it currently sits, think about Friday evening around dinner time is the current plan that we have. So if you're already making your PAX East plans and kind of want a sense of maybe when you might want to go to this thing, look at Friday evening. If that changes, of course, we'll announce something different, but that's the current plan is that. So Gen Con player meetup as well. I've heard a little bit about that. We may go to the place that we were at last year, if you were at our meetup last year. And then a new
rematch of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, right. And then a new hardcore-like live event. What can you tell me about that?
So some of you may have been here for our Lanterns in the Mist event back when we ran that on Cormier. The Lantern Guardians are actually still active in the universe, and this is a continuation of their story. They are still concerned about dreadlords from Ravenloft. Someone's trying to help them escape. And so this time we will be focused on a dreadlord that we have met before. We will be making sure that Strahd does not escape.
Okay. And we can expect that roughly sometime in the fall, something like that.
Yeah, that'll be a fall one.
We're also going to be, I guess you could put in parentheses, finally, working on Drow. That has been one that we have kind of hinted at maybe wanting to get to for quite a few years, and it looks like this is the year for it.
Yeah, we were looking at, okay, when is the time right for this? And, the challenge with Drow was always, but we already have Drow. How excited will people be to retouch, what we already have? And do we want to do it as an update in place? Do we want to make it a variant like we did with Wood Elf? Also, we know that people, are conscious about how many elves we have. The D&D universe is very rich with many flavors of elves, and we've done many of them. We were like, you know what, let's take a pause on elves and we'll do Draegr. But then we were like, you know what, we still have enough bandwidth. Let's go ahead and wrap up the end of the year. Let's go ahead and pull the trigger on doing some retouches to Drow.
Do you know, is that also going to involve some class work, or is that mostly art and animation work? Like, I guess by that I mean, are we talking systems as well?
It's mostly art and animation, and we're currently exploring whether or not we also will have a systems component to it. Because similar with Wood Elf, we obviously had a different setup there. So we're looking at, do we want to just do it as visual, or do we also want to explore systems for them?
While I start heading into our Twitch chat and take a look at some of the questions that they have, I wanted to give you a chance to talk to us a little bit about the final piece of your letter, which is the 20th anniversary of DDO and some personal thoughts on it. Can you take, when were you a yes? Like, when were you like, yes, I am going to play. Game? Yep, I am going to buy Dungeons and Dragons Online. I'm going to go to a store or something, buy the box, and do this. When did that happen for you, and kind of what's the story there?
I know exactly when, and I think I've even told this story at the 10th anniversary. I know exactly when it happened. The original tutorial, obviously, which doesn't exist now, there was a scene where you walked in a room. And up to this point, the Dungeon Master has been talking to you. And I walk in the room, and there's boxes, and there's like broken boxes on the floor, and some like, glowing shards and such. And the Dungeon Master talks about, oh no, you better be careful, because there's all this broken debris down there. You might get hurt. There could be problems, and it's sort of encouraging you to want to go up and around the hazard to learn how to like climb on things. Because back then MMOs were not as vertical as DDO is. Like, we have a lot of jumping and parkour-y type elements that wasn't as common back then. I had come from EverQuest, actually, one of our in the sister games these days, but back then, predated DDO. I had come from EverQuest, and most of EverQuest's gameplay was you're on the ground, you target the thing, you could be like staring at the wall, and if you targeted the thing, the damage would land, and it kind of was, very flat to me. Whereas when I tried this game, you're climbing around on stuff, you're able to hang on things, you're jumping, and there's a little bit of jumping puzzle to it, which I liked, but it was the Dungeon Master. It was the Dungeon Master adding this extra layer of color to the experience beyond what I could see with my eyes, adding this extra layer of like emotion or things that your character would be thinking about as they encounter this room with these broken boxes. It's a subtle thing, but that was the thing where I was like, oh, this game is really cool. It's adding this extra layer beyond just the art that's right in front of me. And that to me was like, yep, we're doing this.
Yeah. I myself had gotten a phone call from my twin brother who was like, you need to buy DDO because I want to play it. One of those things. But I checked it out, and I had not heard at that time that Dungeons and Dragons Online was coming. So as soon as I heard about it, I was like, yeah, that sounds great. A lot of us were old tabletop friends who used to get together around high school and such and play D&D a lot, middle school and high school, and play D&D a lot. And by the point that Dungeons and Dragons Online came out, we had scattered a little bit post college careers and all that sort of stuff that happens, and we were well on to establishing our own families and futures and what have you. So the idea of being able to go back online using integrated voice chat, which at the time was pretty exciting, as a group, and really have that D&D experience, even if it was in a video game form rather than tabletop. It had that authenticity, like you say, of the Dungeon Master, the chests, just a whole bunch of things, right? Spike traps, you name it. So
yeah, exactly.
Yep. All right, I'm going to get through some of the questions here. And the
Sure.
first one is about the hardcore event.
Mhm.
What are our thoughts about doing a separate hardcore server someday?
So we are still deliberating that. Right now, we've been trying this hardcore at home phenomenon, is what we kind of lovingly call it internally. The idea that when your guildies go to play hardcore, they don't just disappear into the ether and leave you abandoned on the regular servers. So we're talking a lot about when would be the right time to do a separate server again. There's a couple of factors to it. One of them was we definitely needed server transfers to happen first. We needed to have everybody on the 64 bits, and that also meant a little bit more consolidation of everyone too. So that was one piece of it. The other piece of it is we need the actual physical hardware. That hardware did not come through the move, and so we will have to rebuild that hardware. So that is another piece of the puzzle. So once we're in a place where we've made a decision about that, then we'll bring some more information and announcements for you. For now, what we've done is try to make sure that if there's aspects of the hardcore experience in this new format that aren't quite meeting it, that we continue to find ways to shore that up, right? We want you to feel like it's still meaningful to participate in it this way, even though it's not the same as like a pure fresh start server, right? We're even working through like, technologically could we do things like you can't use any of your past money, or you can't use any of your past crafting ingredients, or there's a whole bunch of different things. We've been watching people's feedback as they played the Lantern event and now the Fae music event to see where are the parts where you were like, it's not hardcore enough, right? So that's what we're currently digesting and seeing. Are there things that we can just maybe we can just address, and then it is the experience that was the same as being on a separate server, but without actually having to not hang out with your friends.
This one comes from Voodoo Spice. Will there be an Underdark City public zone in the expansion? Is the public area going to actually be in the Underdark?
I don't know yet. I would have to check with the Knockback and some of the other quest makers whether they're planning to have people coming in from an existing public area a la Evening Star, or coming in from a public area that's above ground, or whether people are going to be sort of staged in the Underdark in some sort of like, foothold of a safe place to work from. I don't have that level of detail yet because they're still planning a lot of those layouts. Some of it comes down to like what makes sense story-wise, what kind of assets would it take to do each of those places, and so we're still working through those details.
Is the Durgar going to be a standard race or an iconic hero?
We will offer a standard Duergar, similar how the Deep Gnome, very similar to Deep Gnome, where you can be Deep Gnome or you can also be the iconic Deep Gnome. Same setup. You'll be able to be a Duergar or you'll be able to do an iconic Duergar.
Sardonic Fox wants to know about raids in 2026. Are we getting a raid with the expansion? Are other raids coming this year?
We are definitely getting a raid with the expansion. The raid is where the Demogorgon is going to be.
Yeah. All right. Someone is asking both in the forums, and I see a comment in chat as well. So what's the future, if you can speak to it, of the Monster Manual? What are our plans for it?
Monster Manual, what we're doing right now is looking at the way that it's constructed. Is there anything that it is contributing to performance? And if there is there anything that we need to change about it to make that not be the case? Almost every part of the game during our lag investigations is a suspect. And so there's almost no safe corner of the technology. And we were like, what about this one? What about this one? And we were working our way down the list. And so Monster Manual, we've been doing some investigation. Those investigations have gone back and forth. Sometimes it seemed like it was the caught red-handed culprit. And then we would dig a little harder and it was like, no, technically it was this other thing that made it look like it was. So that's where we're at, is investigating what needs to change about Monster Manual, if anything.
Speaking of systems a little bit, this question is also asked elsewhere. What is going on with Caneth crafting? When will it be upgraded to the level cap?
This was the thing that I couldn't fit in the letter. We're going to do Caneth crafting update this year. Now, what we didn't have was when it comes to the producer's letter, I prefer the producer's letter to give you things where there's timetables. So you know what you can set your watch by to be like, okay, the X pack's going to be roughly here, and this quest pack's going to be roughly there. The Caneth crafting, we didn't have pinned down to a specific point in the year because we're talking about, do we want to do it all at once? Do we don't want to do it in 2 phases? If we do those 2 phases, do we want it to happen before the level cap increase or during it? So expect that there is Caneth crafting action within the calendar year is the way I would think of that.
Some people in chat are surprised that I have a twin brother, but yes, I've had a twin for a long time. He's been a DDO player too. Back in the early years, he used to join me on the show sometimes, and at the podcast I did and things. So he's got his own family and other life these days, but he knows DDO just fine. So. Next big question, also from the forums, and I see in chat here. Can you speak at all to our plans for 64-bit to 64-bit server transfers? We have, some pledges to get certain things done and other things we'd like to do. Where do we sit on all that?
So that is work in progress. What happened was, as we saw characters that were having trouble getting off the Ghost Worlds, we made some technological changes to let those characters get off. But it introduced a side effect that we're now currently having to work through. Once we can get that side effect addressed, I'm hoping to be able to start also rolling that out fairly soon. I don't know if it's going to happen in time for anniversary month, but I'm hoping it will be in the first half of the year rather than the last half of the year. We want to give people enough time to get settled and be able to do those transfers. So that, like, for example, I know there's people on Cormyr that want to go to Moonsea because they started on Cormyr, but now there's this European server and they're like, well, I want to go where, I'm European. I want to go where it's going to be a better experience for me in that regard. So once we get past this technological hang, then we'll be good to start doing that.
I am going through questions. This one is also from the forums that I see in chat. It's nice to be able to be reminded of both. We've had a lot of discussion over on the forums in particular, but the Discord and elsewhere too, about class balance and class work that the community would like to see done. One of the things that we've been hearing quite a bit from are our caster players who would like us to focus on that particular DPS spellcasting and perhaps crowd control, high-level Reaper style of play with casters. Is that on the agenda?
So that is on the calendar year agenda, yes. That's actually one of the things that's fighting with crafting for timetables. So that the balance pass is a part of it. Again, because we couldn't tell you when specifically it was going to happen, we didn't want to put it in the letter and on the little picture there. But that is on the docket. And we know that the spellcasters, that's part of it. There's also some other areas too we want to try to look at. Like, I know that Epic Destiny trees, for example, there's been some discussion around that. So expect that this may be another case of, you may see this come in multiple phases, or you may see one big one all at once. We're not sure which direction we're going to go.
DDO Central wants us to bring back a quest that was shuttered, one of the only quests in the game's history, maybe there's been one or two others, that have been shuttered, that being Memoirs of an Illusory Larcener. Any chance of bringing that back?
We talked about what would it take to bring that back. I know one of the things that is, we can't bring it back in the exact form that it existed in the way it was built. Could we recreate something in the spirit of it? Possibly. So if we're going to do it, it may have certain aspects of its encounters that would have to change, and we don't know if that'll sort of ruin what people liked about it, I guess is how I would put it. And what would be helpful for me is for the people that were big fans of that quest, if you can talk about the specific aspects of it that you liked, and that'll help us kind of decide whether we're actually capable of preserving those aspects or not.
Have you heard anything about Reaper tree work?
Yes, we have been discussing Reaper tree work. Same deal, no formal announcement. We've actually had some newer folks on our game team that we've been ramping up for things. That is a part of the factor. Is some of these things we want them to be learning the deep workings of our game, and there's no better way to do that than to get into balance work, updating, extending systems, things like that. So we're very excited. They have a lot of options.
The Symphony of the Fae event technically ended this week and then got reopened for the weekend here while we are working on a minor but not minor issue of people not being able to get rid of their Vow of Glory without the event being active. So we have something like a patch, a game update set for next week that'll take care of that. But as you're hearing my voice, the Symphony of the Fae is getting a little bit of a refrain. So we've got a few more days to get that done. A lot of players had items that appeared during the Symphony of the Fae that have these musical kind of notation borders, and there's some interest in us being able to systematically remove those borders when the event is over. Do you know what our ability to do that might be?
So one of the things that I wanted to know actually from people, it is work for us to scrub them off of there. However, we were originally just going to go, yeah, let's just, purge them off of there. But then there was a deep conversation about sometimes people want to collect stuff where they're like, I was there, Gandalf. I was there, 2,000 years ago when Symphony of the Fae came out and had these music items. So we were like, well, people who collect that stuff, would they care if we removed the border? And maybe if they care, we could just keep the little effect in the tooltip. Maybe that would be okay. Or maybe they don't care at all and we can just get rid of the whole thing. So we are interested in hearing some feedback from people where if we scrubbed that stuff off of there, would you be okay with that? It's the kind of thing where if we took it away and there was like a large enough pocket of people that were excited about it, there's no putting it back. So we wanted to err on the side of caution and say, okay, everybody, we're thinking of scrubbing these off of here. Is that cool? So it is technologically possible to do. It is a thing that we were lined up to do if we think the community is okay with us doing it. Since this was the first time we had run the event and we haven't had this concept of seasonal items before, because when we run the next event, obviously it's going to get a different appearance and a different effect. The other thing we're wanting to work on is one of the major annoyances of the music notes is it sort of covers up some of the feedback that people need about their items. And we're thinking what we can do is maybe do a little bit of a rework on the appearances of the items in general to make it easier to see that feedback. So that's another part of the work. So let us know. Do you want us to scrub it off of there and you're good? And or are there any, are you team keep it or team scrub it?
Well, Twitch chat is certainly team scrub it. I can tell you that much.
Okay,
we got people in chat saying get rid of it.
Like get rid of it.
Yeah.
All right.
So
So
okay.
If your team keep it, you have a very finite amount of time to lobby us to keep it, because otherwise I will take that as go ahead and add it to the scrub it task list.
So we could systematically in the future in a game update actually scrub that border then.
Yes.
I know sometimes changing icons can be a little tricky. So
sometimes, yes, it depends on the way it's implemented. And then another piece of it is we're hoping that we can change that so in the future it's a little bit easier to see during seasonal loot that icon isn't as disruptive to people because they're trying to see the other borders and affect information.
Mm-hmm. Do you know, there's been a specific issue with a summer wing turn-in where I think it's actually the winter wing. If they had the winter wing and they turned it in and then got the summer wing accidentally when we had that one bug, we fixed that. But now if they want to get the summer wing, I think they might be having an issue. Are you familiar with this at all? Yeah.
I am personally not. Doesn't mean it might not be in the hopper, but I individually am not. Okay. So I will have to check into that.
Any plans for new epic quests or content?
Yes. I know that we will be doing the spring pack will be in that end of the game. because we do want people to have content to play, especially in the 30s. We're making sure that there's a lot of variety up in the 30s. So expect that we will have high level content for people.
Right. I'm trying not to ask a bunch of kind of wish list style suggestions. I really appreciate all the suggestions. Well, it's fun, but we get dozens of them. You know, can we make, can we do this, can we do that? Yeah. And sometimes it's difficult to, if it's not in our plan, it's like you can't really commit on a live stream to doing something like that. So it's a hard question to answer sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Legendary Tower of Despair, question mark?
On our punch list, but not this year.
Okay.
But that's why I like the wish list. Is it's sometimes it's very useful for us to hear from people when they're like, I wish you would do X. And it turns out we kind of also had the same, because, you know, we play the game too. We're like, oh, we kind of want to do this, but we don't know if the players want it too. And so then when we hear people saying, oh, Legendary Tower, we're like, aha, see, we're not the only ones that want this.
All right. I got a bunch of border questions. Apparently we got people. Can we get a filter for character and TR bank for bound to a character and bound to account? A filter for, to be able to filter bound to character and bound to account items in your character or reincarnation cache.
I will have to check with the engineers on that. I know that they were looking at the filter system, and so I don't know if that's one of the variables that it's able to see. And how hard it would be if it can't see it. I don't know how hard it would be to add. Not
quite sure, King Kaza, what you're asking here. Can you use the Gatekeeper Grove as the teleport portal rather than give us a teleport device for each? So make it one device that takes you to the Grove only, but what if you don't want to go to the Grove? What if you want to go to, like, Myth Trainer or something?
The other thing, too, people, I don't know if everybody knows this, because this wasn't always the case back in the day, but these days we did update the teleport clickies from the various expansions and such. You only have to keep one. If you open that little window, like if I have, say, the Sharn map and you click it, I can go to any of the places. I don't have to have, like, to go to Sharn, I need the map, and to go to Isle of Dread, I need the treasure map, and to go. That's how it used to work a long time ago, but we did refresh that now. And so you keep the object that you like the best. Like in my case, I get kind of silly, and on my one character, I really like the Sharn map, but on my other character, I really like the Bottle of Mist. So.
Right.
Now, is the question, can we get a teleport to the Gatekeeper's Grove? I will take a note.
That actually is a good point. We have a lot of ways to get to the Grove, but I guess we don't put it on that teleportation.
Yeah, we don't have like a direct teleport. I mean, probably could look, it might make sense for it to also exist in the teleport spell, because it is kind of a, to me, anywhere where you have the teleport glowy gate is a candidate for the teleport spell.
Bit of a bug question. When will our poor, they're saying pets, but they mean animal companions, be able to benefit from augments on their docents and collars? This is a long-standing bug where augments on docents and collars for, like, say, your wolf pets and things like that aren't proccing.
I don't have a specific timetable when it's fixed by, but I can tell you that the bug was being discussed in triage even fairly recently, so it is on our radar, but I don't know how difficult the fix will be. Like, so that makes it hard to predict when the solution will get to go live. But we are aware it is in the to-do list, and it's a matter of, and how do we actually fix this?
Is it true that Tolero, you voiced the heroic Black Abbot raid?
Yes. Well, sort of. It's a long story. It's what actually happened was long ago. They had a voice actress that did the Abbot, and then that person wasn't available anymore. And so they said, hey, Tolero, you actually sound like kind of similar to that actress. Would you mind coming in, re-recording some lines for us? Because we don't think anybody will really kind of notice. So I was like, yeah, sure, we'll do that. So yes, I did do it for the purpose of filling in gaps of a different actress who sounds really similar to me.
When will we see commas become a viable option? That's a tough question, I think, for either of us.
That's a tough
answer.
question, yeah. That's more a Torque question.
Yeah. Or perhaps a Steel Star question or something.
Yes, yeah. Star could probably also speak to that.
I'm not really
I have been also really enjoying everybody's memories that they've been sharing.
Yeah.
So that's been a good time. That's been like, open the forums and like, nostalgia hits you for 10,000 damage. Like, it's been really nice. Like, so many good memories.
We have a request for black and blue Reaper wings, or a new type of Reapers, Reaper revamp.
We've been talking about the Reaper wings. One of the things that comes up very often in our discussions about the wings is the fact that they were sort of like I don't know if they were the earliest necessarily art-wise, but they're pretty early. And so it means that they're of a different fidelity. And so we're like, in modern times, we're able to do these so much more complex. I mean, look at the Fey butterfly wings, right? Those things are amazing. And we're like, okay, we want to give the Reaper wings something cooler, but sometimes people get really attached to a thing that they earned, right? The thing that when you see it, you're like, that's from the very first such and such. And so we're like, do we change them in place, or would that upset the people that worked so hard to earn that original version, even if we could make a, quote unquote, more updated version or a different color and such. So, but we have talked about like, okay, what's the next wings?
Do we have any intention to add sun and moon augments to older gear?
I do not have an answer for that one. That's I can double check with Steel Star and see if that was on his plan.
Are you a Patriots fan?
You kind of have to be if you want to survive living in New England.
Yeah, you're not necessarily not a fan. You just don't talk about it much. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't really talk about the Patriots much, so...
Yeah. I would describe it as, I am aware of what they're doing.
I don't even think I'm watching the show this Sunday.
Yeah. To me, it's an excuse to get together with friends. So, like, I'm not necessarily watching the game, but, like, when your region is in one of the major sporting events, it's an excuse to get together with your friends and family and such and hang out. So that aspect of it, I enjoy quite a bit. We had a big question going around recently, which was, what is the food that you have for this type of celebration? For me, it's chili. I got to do like a chili with like all the fixins on top. Like that's my big to do, is make a cool chili.
Lagan has a question about the Durgar. Will they get a spiked hammer? Now, I know we had a little bit of a deep dive discussion on that this week, and I think, Lagan, you were the one that brought this up on the forums as well, but do you know which spiked hammer particularly you're talking about? Because I don't think we actually know, right?
We were debating
one, but that's like in the suit.
Yeah.
And that's not really maybe what you're talking about, right? Or is that what you're talking about? I don't know. Identifying what spiked hammer you're talking about is something that we could use a little guidance on.
Yeah, even if it's like, page whatever of such and such book, that's a huge help to us, because we were going back and forth and we were like, did they mean this thing or was it from this? So yeah, that definitely we were looking for a little clarity on that question.
Yep. I mean, in theory, I'm generally a fan of spiked hammers for our DEO.
Yeah.
I mean, why not, right? So.
Right, like, yeah, it sounds cool to me.
Can we get more bank tabs?
More bank tabs. Which particular bank? The personal bank or the shared bank? Or
I'm going to guess they're saying yes, all.
All the above?
Yeah.
We will add them as we can, even though I know in modern times storing a bunch of data is like really easy to do. It turns out that it can also be difficult for game performance. So we move very carefully when we choose to expand that chunk of the game interaction. But it is our intent to allow people to continue to expand their storage. Like, we're going to keep throwing, resources and investigation to let people have what they want to have.
Okay. I guess we sort of started the conversation with the technical question. Let's end it here, and I know we're about ready to wrap up the show, but someone has a question about airship game performance, and I know that that's also something we've been looking at. Do we have any... What are we doing there?
That's part of the investigation. We have some data that we were like, okay, we think it's this. We applied some changes that did make quite a dent in one aspect of them, but there's still one other piece of the puzzle that is evading us. And so that's one of those other pieces where we're putting in more reporting to help us understand exactly what's going wrong. So hopefully, basically what we're looking at, it seems like a lot of the activity is happening in the public areas. And so that's what we're really focused on right now. Sometimes, rarely these days, but more so back previously, the bad performance in the public area would then bleed into the dungeons a bit. We've taken a lot of steps to try to mitigate that, but we ultimately want to get down to the root cause of, okay, well, why is it happening in the first place, so that we can address that.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Tolero, for joining me here today. I really appreciate you joining us here on Fridays at 4 on Twitch.
Absolutely. Everybody have a great time and happy 20th anniversary to us.
All right. Thank you so much for watching Fridays at 4 on twitch.tv/DDO stream. I'll be back next week with more. We've got anniversary stuff happening for the next few weeks, so I'll be back on this channel every Friday at 4 o'clock for at least the next few weeks. If you're watching this on YouTube afterwards, really appreciate that as well. Give us a like and a thumbs up if you would. And hope you're having a great DDO weekend. Before I wrap things up, let me just mention a couple of bits of news. That being, we do have the Symphony of the Fae event extended, so if you haven't turned in your stuff yet, you have just a little bit more work that you didn't get to. You can get it done now. Until our next game update, you can find the Symphony of the Fae guide on DDO.com. Next game update tentatively set for early next week, mostly to correct the one issue that has to do with the Vow of Glory with the Symphony of the Fae. We do have a 25% Caneth Crafting XP boost going on this week as well. That goes through Sunday. And I would also point out, if you want to get more information about Arcane Trickster and all the anniversary stuff that we just talked about,